Good evening. Health authorities have...
These vehicles may or may not have mechanical...
It will be a trial within a trial.
Ruby Znaimer at the Ontario...
The city does have a bylaw that requires...
I'm Em Roskowski. Tonight, Metropoles celebrate their pontiff.
On City TV, Channel 57, Cable 7, this is City Pulse Tonight with Gord Martineau.
Good evening. Here's what's happening tonight. The end of a very busy day for Pope John Paul as thousands turn out for his first visit to Canada's largest city. An earthquake in Japan devastates a town. One person is killed, many more are missing. And a gala night in the world of music videos. We have a dollar and cents report on their success. First tonight, a successful and safe end to Pope John Paul's first day in Toronto. And Roskowski is live at the CNE, where His Holiness has just finished a special Polish rally. And
that's right, Gord. The rally here actually ended about 40 minutes ago. As you can see behind me, the stadium is now almost completely empty. But during that rally, the pontiff delivered a very moving homily about the family and its virtues. And later, as the Pope was leaving the CNE grounds in his limousine, he was met by a stunning array of fireworks that lit up the night sky. And this is how it looked. This rally was an immensely emotional experience for all who gathered here. I will bring you highlights and reaction on Night Follow a bit later on. Now, Gord, back to you.
thank you, Ann. We'll talk to you later. Tonight's rally ended an eventful first day in Toronto for the pontiff. Pope John Paul's Canadian Forces jet touched down just before 1:30 this afternoon, marking the halfway point for the papal visit. Emmett Cardinal Carter officially greeted the pontiff to Toronto along with a host of dignitaries. Lieutenant Governor John Blackayard and his wife, Premier Bill Davis and his wife. 3 Toronto children then presented His Holiness with flowers and gifts. A group of Toronto priests then welcomed the pontiff to our city.
Thank you very much.
At one point, Cardinal Carter showed some concern over the Pope's grueling schedule and asked whether he was tired. Pope John Paul assured him he was not. Just before getting into his limousine, the Pope joked with cameramen.
Hey, good picture.
Well-wishers cheered as the Pope's motorcade left for Avenue Road, where he was transferred to the Pope-mobile. In a huge outpouring of emotion, thousands of admirers lined the streets to catch a glimpse of the Holy Father. An important task for the pontiff today was to hold an ecumenical prayer service at St. Paul's Anglican Church. There, the moderator of the United Church of Canada had a strong message for the Pope. The Reverend Robert Smith said Christian churches must adopt a modern attitude on the issues of women and human sexuality. The service came after His Holiness addressed 1,100 Catholic clergymen at St. Michael's Cathedral. Mary Garofalo tells us there he spoke of the sacrifices of priesthood.
As Pope John Paul entered St. Michael's Cathedral, he spent a few private moments in prayer with God. For these men of the cloth, it was a reunion in both a spiritual and social sense. Emmett Cardinal Carter referred to Pope John Paul as God's perfect athlete. The pontiff thanked the clergy for their dedication to the Church and reminded them of the importance of their commitment to the Eucharist and celibacy.
The Eucharist is the very reason
for the priest. The priest exists in order to celebrate the Eucharist. In the Eucharist, we find meaning.
But the highlight of the Mass was a sign of solidarity as the clergy renewed their priestly vows.
Are you resolved to imitate Jesus Christ, the head and shepherd of the Church, by teaching the Christian faith without thinking of your own profit, solely for the well-being of the people you were sent to serve?
And in his usual charismatic style, he found time to joke. His comments aimed at the 350 members of the St. Michael's Boys Choir School who sang here this afternoon.
Now, in the first point, I should beg pardon of the choir for the obstacle I did.
St. Michael's is the oldest Catholic cathedral in Toronto, and today hundreds of uniformed men surrounded the church as protection for the pontiff.
Security is so tight here today, one police officer told me that 50 RCMP officers dressed as priests will be taking part in the service.
At the end of the fellowship meeting, Pope John Paul boarded his Popemobile and traveled to Bloor Street to St. Paul's Anglican Church for a meeting with non-Catholic religious leaders. I'm Mary Garfello for City Pulse Tonight.
In spite of the Pope being in the downtown core for much of the afternoon and the thousands of people he attracted, there were no serious accidents, as Peter Gross found out.
It's funny how sometimes story ideas just don't pan out. We naturally assume because of the Pope's visit that there would be traffic jams everywhere in the downtown core. We thought it'd be kind of amusing to go play in the traffic. But as it turned out, there was a significant lack of vehicular congestion. For example, this parking lot, a mere 100 yards from where the Pope would pass at Church and Queen, was uncustomarily only half full.
People cannot come in. So it's a bad day for us, I guess, business-wise.
Yeah? You taking a beating? You can bill the Pope, you know.
Well, yeah. Sure, why not?
Thousands of Pope lovers crowded the intersection of Avenue Road and St. Clair. But the effect on traffic was minimal. Most people simply chose to walk to the nearest viewing point. At exactly 2:12 this afternoon, the Popemobile with its famous passenger came down Avenue Road past St. Clair. Exactly 6 minutes after the Pope had passed, traffic was moving easily again, thanks in a small way to the help of concerned citizens directing confused motorists. And for at least one lady in the crowd, today constituted a double thrill.
Oh, no! And Peter Gross on the same day! Oh!
Now, very much contrary to what we expected, Mount Pleasant Avenue at 2:30 this afternoon was so abandoned, you could practically bowl down it. Oh, just left a corner pin. So why were there no heavy traffic jams today? Well, I think it was a case of an informed population dealing with an extraordinary event in a very logical fashion. In other words, nobody brought their cars downtown, and that looks good on Toronto. I'm Peter Gross for City Pulse Tonight.
Pope John Paul arrived in Toronto after his tour of the Maritimes, and the rainy weather that has followed him on his trip down east continued in Halifax today. More than 100,000 people braved the heavy rains to attend a mass in downtown Halifax, where the Pope praised the work of Canadian missionaries worldwide.
Evangelization remains for all time the sacred heritage of Canada, which has indeed such a proud history of missionary activity at home and abroad.
After that, a final farewell to Eastern Canada as the pontiff boarded a jet at CFB Shearwater for his flight to Toronto. Also down east, RCMP patrols have taken over the policing duties in Sydney, Nova Scotia. A regular police force went on strike several hours ago. The main bargaining stumbling block is wages. The mayor of Sydney says he's offered all there is to give. No trouble has been reported since the strike began. Midnight strike deadline for American United Auto Workers is fast approaching. The UAW is negotiating right now with General Motors while 350,000 workers prepare to walk out. Jim Cummins is in Detroit.
Across the country, members of the UAW's 149 GM locals have been preparing for a strike, signing up for picket duty in Van Nuys, California, putting picket signs together in Atlanta, doing the same at another local in Detroit. The men and women arriving for the second shift at a Cadillac plant here said they are ready to walk out if no agreement is reached by midnight tonight.
So we got to strike to make them convince them that we mean business. They want, jobs for kids.
Oh, I think we'll be out at least 2 weeks or 3 weeks, maybe. They're not coming close no ways.
GM has offered to retrain workers who lose their jobs to outsourcing, work done in non-union plants here and abroad. But the UAW wants to limit outsourcing to protect union jobs. GM currently employs 350,000 union members, most of them at 28 plants in 16 states, where the effects of any prolonged walkout would be most severely felt.
I think that a GM strike would perhaps help cool off the economy, but basically it's a temporary factor. As soon as GM gets back into production, the situation goes back to where it was before the strike.
GM is not ready for a long walkout. The company has only a 49-day supply of new cars, and many dealers like Superior Buick in Dearborn, Michigan, have even less.
If there's a strike, all the fast-moving cars, we've been very short in supply all year, and we're very low today. So we'd be virtually out of cars within a 2-week period.
Without a settlement, union leaders have 3 options. They can strike some GM plants, all GM plants, or extend the current contract through the weekend to provide more time to negotiate a settlement. Jim Cummins, NBC News, Detroit.
An earthquake today devastated the mountain village of Otaki in central Japan. The quake measured 6.9 on the Richter scale and was followed by 9 major aftershocks. Huge landslides left 1 man dead and 28 others are still missing tonight. An early look now at the unusually quiet streets of Toronto tonight. Here's our chief assignment editor, Glenn Cole.
Thank you very much, Gordon. A couple of things from our potpourri file tonight. One of the thousands out of the thousands of folks lining the streets today, Metro Ambulance treated only 12 patients for minor problems, and the most serious was just a simple collapse. We're obviously a healthy lot. OPP have had to close highway number 12 at the 400 because of heavy volume of traffic. So if you are getting ready to head for Toronto, you definitely will need some divine guidance. Metro Police have issued an all-points bulletin for an over-enthusiastic souvenir collector. The papal visit license plate 021 has been stolen. God will get you for that one. 2 prisoners who helped build the Laval University Pope Podium in Quebec have decided to fade into the heavens. Quebec Provincial Police are looking for 18-year-old Louis Caron and Guy Roy. The 2 have been missing since August the 20th, when they were to have reported back to the prison. Since that date, both have been behaving like holy ghosts. And holy smokes if it isn't time for the weather. Live down to Queen Street at a real angel with the man Brian Hill.
Thanks, Glenn. We've almost had some divine intervention with the wonderful weather we've experienced tonight as opposed to showers that were very nearby us. There's going to be some rain coming our way. I'll tell you later in the City Weather Watch whether it's going to spoil the outdoor activities tomorrow up in Agincourt. All that comes later. Right now, with an early look at entertainment, here's John Burgess.
Thank you, Brian. There have been a lot of indoor activities, a lot of parties with the Festival of Festivals. Also tonight on our sister station, Much Music, the first MTV Music Awards from New York are now being broadcast. A sign that the once struggling U.S. pay service is now succeeding. Business specialist Mike Jensen has a look at the bottom line figures.
In just 3 years, music videos have dramatically altered the entertainment scene. The videos have helped revive a sagging record industry and have propelled an entire new wave of performers into the spotlight. Cyndi Lauper owes her success almost entirely to music television, MTV, a round-the-clock cable television channel with video jockeys and 22 million subscribers. The unusual visual techniques used in the videos, as well as the clothing worn by the performers and their hairstyles, have had an enormous effect on the youngsters who watch MTV and on the industries that cater to them.
The music business has changed. The movie business has changed. The advertising business has changed. We've had an impact upon fashion.
And all this has meant money in the bank for MTV. After losing $34 million in 2.5 years, MTV has made more than $8 million in profits so far this year. And with that kind of money being made, competition is on the way. Turner Broadcasting, for one, says it's going to start a music channel. Some commercial stations say they'll do the same. MTV says it will counterattack by featuring performers like Kenny Rogers and Diana Ross on a second music channel of its own for older folks. Meantime, MTV is holding an awards ceremony tonight at Radio City Music Hall, where the favorites are Cyndi Lauper and Michael Jackson. Mike Jensen, NBC News, New York.
For a final word on music television, Chum Radio's Dick Smythe. It's certainly not to his taste, he says, and here he is now with tonight's comment.
Hey, I'm upset with my boss. He could have spent his money on all sorts of things. He could have bought a radio station, a TV station down in Florida, and I could have gone down for a couple of weeks in the wintertime. He could have invested in a perpetual motion machine. Instead, he's seen fit to put Much Music on the air. Come to think of it, Much Music is a sort of perpetual motion machine. I mean, it's easy for him. He doesn't have any kids at home. We've got a very fancy TV set at our home. My lady and I splurged on it. We can't get close to the thing since Much Music came on the air. We watch our TV these days on a little black and white portable up in the kitchen because the big set downstairs is the only one that gets the pay channels. Recently, we had a gorgeous Saturday afternoon. My kid and every kid in the neighborhood was in the family room watching Much Music. I said, kid, there's a great show on PBS you should be watching. She said, Dad, you're weird. Not half as weird as the people with the spiked hairdos doing unspeakable things in the smoke and laser beams on the TV. The new set's got a 2-year warranty. I'm convinced my kid has run it into the 3rd year already. I told her, kid, I said, color TV sets cost lots of money to use. They use a lot of electricity. I'm going to start dinging your allowance. She said, Dad, you're weird. My lady and I want equal time. I mean, if the kids have got MTV and Much Music and the rest of it, I think there should be a music channel for adults. It would feature things like clips from old Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers movies, Louis Armstrong, maybe even Buddy Holly. Boss would need a name for it. Menopause music.
Night Follow is next on City Pulse tonight. The Pontiff brings hope to Toronto polls at the CNE. On Night Follow tonight, we are live at CNE Stadium, where Pope John Paul has just finished his message of hope and unity to thousands of fellow Poles. Ann Roskowski is with the City Pulse Live Eye. Ann?
Gord, although the Pontiff has been consistently running behind schedule during his papal tour, tonight he arrived a half an hour early to the stadium to a deafening cry of welcome. We have estimates of more than 50,000 people here tonight, and they were all mesmerized by this holy man of peace. Tonight from Michigan, from Ohio, brown and black faces, and Oriental. Even though this rally was organized as a Polish celebration for the Pontiff, like all his appearances, he draws the faithful from all backgrounds with their common spirit. Chung Suk Lee and her husband Dae Young came for a papal blessing. And what kind of blessing is it that you want?
Happiness. You want happiness and more faithful. More faithful, yeah.
For others, the Pope's visit has inspired reflection and renewed commitment to the faith.
It's got me thinking, and I think if you can get people to stop for a moment and really think about what's happening, it's a start.
I feel closer to God, really. I'm going to go back to church. I haven't gone for a little while, but I'm going to go back to church now every Sunday. Yeah. He's lifted my spirit up. I always believed in God, but I believe more and more now.
Because of him?
Yeah.
For the Pontiff himself, this evening rally was one of common brotherhood and joy.
And now we will all join in prayer and we will sing our well-known evening song, the one I'm sure you all still remember.
Wszystkie nasze dzienne sprawy przyjmij pośnie Boże prawy, a gdy będziem zasypiani, niech się
Gord, I found that song the most moving part of the whole evening. It brought a tear to my eye.
It certainly did, Anne, and in view of the fact that you are Polish, you could understand everything that was happening tonight. I understand that the Pope only or exclusively dealt with the audience in Polish.
Yes, he did. That was understood in advance. This was called a Polish rally, and even though there were many people in the audience who could not speak Polish, who still just wanted to see him as close as they possibly could, it seemed to them that it was fitting that their Polish pontiff would speak in Polish to this particular crowd.
The other interesting thing that I found, Anne, was the emotional reaction of people down there. There was definitely something spiritual happening out there tonight.
Oh, this, I think, is a spiritual event of a lifetime for many people. And, you know, there's something that strikes me. Very recently, Cardinal Carter wrote a story for Saturday Night Magazine, and at that time he expressed some concern and fears that this papal visit would lose its spiritual dimension. It would become instead a huge media event. But I don't think that's happened tonight. I think you see it day after day with all our coverage. This Pope is coming across as a thoughtful, Christian, exceptional man, and it has not been lost. In fact, I think it's been enhanced.
Well, Anne, thank you very much for standing by tonight.
One last word.
Yes?
Gord, it's been a great night to be Polish.
Well, I'm glad for you, and you can now come in out of the cold.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anne. A good portion of the people here to see the Pope have traveled from south of the border. With that story, Jojo Chinto.
This is the city of Buffalo. Toronto is only 90 miles away. For many Catholics and Americans of Polish descent from the western New York area, Toronto is the closest the Pope will get on his current Canadian tour.
On Saturday, we're going to Toronto to see the Pope. We're going to be leaving about 5 o'clock in the morning. We're going on 4 chartered buses. And we're going to spend the day there, be there for the Mass in the afternoon.
Edward and Gertrude Wierzbicki are from Rochester. They stopped by Buffalo's famous Broadway market to do a little shopping on their way to Toronto.
He's of our own heritage.
Yes.
Polish heritage.
And we're very proud of him.
Yeah.
Western New York has one of the largest concentrations of Americans of Polish descent. Thousands will join the exodus to Toronto to share the company of the most popular Pope in modern times.
That everybody has to have someone to look up to. And the Pope is our figurehead.
I want you to meet Sister Rachel, our principal.
How do you do? How do you do?
Sister Claire, who's our musician, and Sister Treese, who's
These Catholic sisters will be part of a special pilgrimage from the oldest Polish parish in New York State.
I understand that he has a certain charisma about him that even if you are in a group of thousands or more than that, his presence fills the place. And I would like to experience that.
St. Stanislaus Church in Buffalo's east side was built in 1883. It is the cradle of the Polish community in Buffalo. Pope John Paul II has visited this parish twice. Once in 1969, and then he was back in 1976. He celebrated Mass right here on this altar.
The vast majority of our pilgrims are of Polish background, most of them born here in the United States, but there is a real strong affinity with the land of their fathers. And so this man will represent to them the faith of Poland. I'm certain, I've gone through this experience so many times, they will be rejuvenated. And coming back, it'll be difficult to speak to them because they will have been with the Pope.
Jojo Chinto in Buffalo, New York, for City Pulse Tonight.
Our live eyes at Downsview Airport tonight, where the first of thousands of volunteer security people are moving into place. They'll be there all night long to make sure things go right when the crowds begin to arrive in the morning. This is expected to be the biggest crowd for the Pope on his Canadian tour. Hundreds of thousands are expected. The Pope is due to arrive at Downsview at 3 tomorrow afternoon. A word of warning, do not drive. Take public transit. The TDC has set aside some 1,000 extra buses to handle the crowds. City Pulse Tonight continues in a moment.
I'm Brian Hill. There'll be rain on Saturday morning, but the papal events should not be wet. Complete weather details are coming up.
City Pulse weekend weather is next. Brian says there will be rain tomorrow, but hopefully not at the time of the papal mass in Downsview.
That's right. Nevertheless, a lot of people are planning to get out early, Gordon, get to that site in the morning hours. So a lot of people could end up getting wet tomorrow, but when the papal activity is on, it should not be raining, and that, at least, is good news. Cold air coming. Evening rain. Overnight tonight and tomorrow morning, rain. You can see the area here. It's associated with an upper-level trough that we think is going to be moving further to the east. You can notice the cloud cover right here. Tonight's storm that we'll be having while you sleep will merge with Hurricane Diana, and that's going to throw a lot of cloud cover up into southern Ontario. Saturday morning, we'll have some lingering showers, but the really good news is right here with the papal forecast. Saturday afternoon, when all of the action is occurring at the airport, the mass should be windy, it should be cloudy, and it should be cool, unseasonably cool, as a matter of fact, but it should not be raining. That's nice to see. Hurricane Diana started on Wednesday, approaching shore, and then it went aground, went onto the land on Thursday, and now it's beginning to curve back out to the north and to the east, and it's this weather system that is going to be complicating our weather story tomorrow. You can see, as a matter of fact, just to the north here, watch in a second, you'll see some of the cloud developing off to the west as these two systems begin to merge. Very interesting what's happening down south. And Hurricane Diana continues its ravaging of the eastern seaboard of the United States. That's our latest satellite view of 3:30 this afternoon of this close-up of Hurricane Diana. Let's go to the feed from the weather analysis computer and find out where the dark, rain-bearing clouds are across southern Ontario tonight to the south of us, right here. You can see that this is the area where the rain has stayed as forecast. And zooming in on Toronto, just gray cloud cover over top of the mass site down here on the waterfront. Tomorrow morning, there will be pockets of showers around. Let's expand this out. Saturday morning, before the mass starts, as many people are trying to get to the mass site, there will be a few isolated pockets of shower activity. Most of the rain bearing the consistent precipitation area will be moving off to the east. It will stay to the east, and Saturday afternoon, when the mass is on, we expect there just to be heavy cloud cover over top of the airport mass site. That is certainly good news for most of the people who have to be out there, but dress warmly. It's going to be very cool. Saturday afternoon, for going up to cottage country, for the Midland activities, just gray skies, heavy cloud cover, lighter cloud cover Sunday afternoon, sort of thing that the sun burns through easily. So all in all, it could have been a lot worse. The timing of the showers should come just when we want to see them. That's overnight tonight while most people are sleeping. They'll be lingering with us tomorrow morning, but they should taper off by the time everything gets underway up north at the mass site. Now, as you step out the door, it may be raining. 10, very cold tomorrow. Don't let that discourage you because around noon hour, we expect those showers to be tapering off, only getting up to 12 degrees for a high tomorrow. Normal for this time of year is 22. Very cold, very windy. You'd almost want to wear a ski jacket, and I'm sure that's what those people are doing tonight as they're at the Downsview site right now, still preparing for the papal event. Present temperature is 1754 on the Fahrenheit scale right now. Colder than that for the high tomorrow. Very, very cold. Wind from the north-northwest, 9 kilometers per hour. Windier than that tomorrow. The barometric pressure tonight, 101.7, is rising, but the relative humidity is right up there, 78%. It's damp. Supersaturated air. Showers, thunder showers can trigger off at any moment because of that. Well, here's your sleeping weather tonight. Rain while you're in bed, low 10 above the freezing mark. There's a good likelihood that Saturday night and Sunday night there will be frost warnings for Toronto. One of the first times this year. 10, 8 a.m. Okay, it's going to be kind of gloomy to start, but things will get better as the day progresses. I'm Brian Hill. I'll have the 5-day forecast for you later, but for now, that's the City Weather Watch.
I'm John Burgess, and the Spoons go to the movies, coming up on Entertainment.
Time now to find out what's happening out in the city. Here's John Burgess.
Thank you, Gord. Some sad news to begin tonight. Actress Janet Gaynor died today of pneumonia at Palm Desert Hospital in California. Janet Gaynor was the first woman to ever win an Academy Award. She got the Oscar in 1927 for her work in the silent movie Seventh Heaven. In this and many other roles, she was known for her romantic gentility. She retired at the height of her success in 1939 and never did return to the silver screen. Janet Gaynor died today in California at the age of 77. Last night, Columbia Pictures had a premiere and a party. The film A Soldier's Tale was followed by a glitzy bash, and Jeannie Becker was there.
The dinner at the Courtyard Cafe was definitely the most elegant festival party to date. And with the great reception A Soldier's Story received, all those involved with the film were elated.
Well, it's taken a third time so far now for me to see it. And yes, I'm pleased. We had a director who really knows what he's doing, who really cared about the project. And really, when I looked at the film tonight, I kept saying, wow, that really is a nice performance. So I was watching different characters and so forth and said, yeah, that's nice.
I think I ought to tell you, sir. It seems they were on the road that night.
Well, don't let any more reports fly away from you, Corporal.
The same man who produced Tootsie co-produced A Soldier's Story, Ronald L. Schwarry.
It was a picture that not a lot of people wanted to make, and it was a thing that if you didn't love wanting to do it, that it wouldn't be worth doing. And I loved wanting to do it.
Why didn't a lot of people want to make it?
Well, because it's not really a commercial piece, an all-black cast. It's not a comedy. It's not Eddie Murphy. It's not Richard Pryor. It's an American story that they didn't know if there's any commercial value.
This was the first real premiere, and a public premiere. And it's always nerve-wracking, to show your work.
How does it feel bringing it home? Are you conscious of that?
Oh, very much so, yeah. It's always tough to come home.
Does it sort of put more pressure on you because you're a local hero of sorts?
Well, I think it's like coming home to your parents, coming home to your family.
Thank you so much for talking with me.
Thanks for stopping.
And you look very hip out of uniform.
Wow. Thanks a lot.
A Soldier's Story opened today at the Highland Theatre. Superstar tenor Placido Domingo is expected for tomorrow night's closing Film Fest gala. His movie Carmen will be premiered. He has been booked into the Sutton Place Hotel if you want to hang around for autographs. There are no tickets left for the gala film. There was another lively Festa Fest parties last night with a very live band to celebrate the premiere of Listen to the City. It was only fitting that the Spoons were front and center last night at the Diamond Club, since Sandy Horn, bassist and backup vocalist with the band, appears in the film with music written by Spoons guitarist and singer Gordon Depp. Sandy Horn talked about her role in Listen to the City.
Well, my father is one of the people that gets laid off in the movie, and it's all about unemployment and the effect of what closing down of a plant could do. And I guess my added part was the music. And as an actress, I was a person that was very influenced by my environment. And the songs I performed were about my environment and what was happening around me.
What can I do? Tell me now. Tell me now.
Sandy Horn's character's attempts to piece a song together during the film is mirrored by the search by the authorities for solutions to the unemployment crisis.
No more jobs. Another 500,000 unemployed in 3 months. There'll be blood in the streets. We need reinforcements.
Have any laws been broken?
When the factories close, the air will be breathable for the first time in years.
With no one here to enjoy it.
The movie Listen to the City premiered last night. Daniel Richer will have more about that film on an upcoming edition of The New Music. It was bucks for ballet as the Bay's Mirror Room provided the duds on the runway for the fundraising fashion show in support of the Volunteer Committee of the National Ballet of Canada. Some very fancy fashions there.
Yes, very nice indeed. The festival wraps up pretty soon, doesn't it?
It wraps up. The big wrap-up is tomorrow night, the closing gala film with Domingo and a big party afterwards. And there's some repeats of some favorite films on Sunday and a final closing brunch hangover party.
It's another party I haven't been invited
yes,
to.
exactly.
I'm going to start writing them down.
The City TV Award will be presented on Sunday. Get a big piece of paper if you're going to write them all down.
Thank you, John. Sports next when we come back.
I'm Russ Salzberg. Tonight, the Jays are battling the Tigers in Detroit, but it's not for first place.
We beat the Tigers tonight, Russell.
Don't have my 20 yet, pal. You don't have it yet. Probably next week, but not quite yet. It was just a week ago that I was planning on going to Detroit this weekend and watch the Jays close in on the Tigers. Unfortunately, last weekend here in Toronto, the Tigers closed out the Jays by sweeping 3 games. So, since the series is only for pride and a hold on second place, I'd figure I'd stay at home and keep the peace with the little woman, stay out of trouble, if you know what I mean. All right, in the bottom of the first, the Tigers get on the board first with Lou Whitaker on first base. Alan Trammell wraps a shot to left field. Collins misplays the ball. That allows Sweet Lou to score easily. 1-0 Tigers. The beat goes on and on for a change. However, in the top of the second, the Jays tie it up. Willie Aikens, his 10th of the year, crushes it into the upper deck. That tied the game 1-1. Now moving to the fourth. Following a single, you see Rance Mulliniks. He swipes second base easily. Trammell misses the tag there. Then watch this. Ernie Wood hits a chopper. Lou Whitaker grabs it, throws home. Standing up, says he's safe. Paris says, what are you, nuts? And his manager's going to come out, Sparky Anderson. Can you imagine if Sparky was behind the Jays instead of in front? Okay, watch it in slow-mo. The ump was right on this one. Whitaker makes a good scoop, fires it home. There's the play. He's going to step over the tag. Blue Jays win at 7-2. Aikens ended up hitting another home run. As far as the teams, this is in Chicago with the Cubs and the Mets. Cubs score first. That was in the third inning on a fly ball tag-up. Rick Sutcliffe there showing his stuff. He's going for his 14th win in a row, 15th on the season. And watch this. Jody Davis blasts one. Catcher. 6th inning, a grand slam home run. That was a 5-run inning. The Cubs ended up beating the Mets 7-1. Forget it, the Cubs got first place all locked up. About time. As far as the teams chasing the Jays are concerned, Baltimore is in a rain delay in Milwaukee, and the Yankees are leading the Red Sox 7-1 in the 7th. Boston comes into town for 3 against the Jays beginning Monday. All right, the Argos took a snooze in the final 3 minutes at Edmonton last week, and it cost them a ball game. With the Saskatchewan Roughriders in town Sunday, it's not likely to happen again, hopefully.
Nobody likes to dwell on a defeat because there's always several reasons for it happening. But this Joe Barnes pass in Edmonton last week really sticks out. All right, I've been telling everybody all year, Joe Barnes gets better with age. He's 32 years old. He can play quarterback with the best of them. He's bright. He's intelligent. When his playing days are over, he'll be a great coach. So what does he do? He comes up last Saturday and throws a dummy pass that cost us the ball game. What were you thinking about? You get soft in the head or something?
It just goes to show I'm human, too, and I make mistakes.
Now, what are we going to do against Saskatchewan?
Well, obviously, I think I can learn from my mistakes, and I don't think that I'll throw that pass again. But, the Saskatchewan's, they're an up-and-down football team. They've played well in games, and they've played bad in games. So, but I'm not so much concerned with Saskatchewan as I am with the Toronto Argonauts. We've got to execute a little better than what we have in the last couple of games and get ready to play.
One group of guys Argo fans don't have to worry about is the defensive front four, who also keep getting better with age.
We know what's going on. It doesn't take much for us to make adjustments because the linebackers in the secondary, they have to be coordinated within themselves, and we're more or less out there as a unit doing our thing, and it's pretty simple for us. It's more complex for them. And
the Argos should have no trouble bumping off Saskatchewan, but if I was going to make a wager, I'd want a little guarantee.
Folks, I promise, I won't make the same mistake twice.
There's not a classier guy in all of sports. And backed by popular demand, here's the shot in Calgary last night, heard all across Canada. In the overtime period, Tonelli digs it out, fires, bullseye, and the crowd goes absolutely wild. I'll tell you, I don't think too many people, including me, figured that Canada was going to come up with this one. John Tonelli, if you ask me in a money game, I'd have him over anybody. A lot of happy faces down there. Final 3-2. That's old news by now. There's the happy coach, Glenn Sather. I could do without him personally.
Yeah, I'm not a big Sather fan myself, but hey, listen, after that win last night, I could watch that over and over and over again. Some say probably the most exciting hockey game ever played.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, when you're rooting for your team in the Stanley Cup, which here in Toronto we haven't done for quite a number of years, something like that's a big lift. Great. You know, it might be the summertime. It's hockey season all over again.
Marvelous thing to see. Thanks very much, Russ.
You're welcome.
Coming up on City Pulse tonight, tomorrow night's revitalized Miss America pageant. Tomorrow night, a new Miss America will be crowned. Bill Schackner tells us the scandal involving the last Miss America, Vanessa Williams, has heightened interest in the pageant.
Like a successful debutante after one bad experience, Miss America is heading for the ball again.
This our girl.
I think it's fabulous.
And thriving. Attendance at the first night parade, ticket sales up. It's the Vanessa effect.
In a perverse sort of way, yes, we're prospering, if you want to say that.
And not planning any big changes, no sense in that. Those who might duck the rules would do so under whatever rules. So the pageant is playing the hand it's been dealt, looking for the traditional attributes.
Intelligent, beautiful.
Talent, of course. She's an all-around good girl.
Is this an impossible standard?
I don't think all this talk we hear about today's society, how we've become so decadent, I don't see anything wrong with being traditional and having a sense of integrity.
In gentler times, when this was the way to get around the boardwalk, Miss America was up on a high, high pedestal. Times change. Don't see many of these on the boardwalk anymore. And Miss America, she's become one of the mortals. When you were a kid, what did you think about Miss America?
Fine, beautiful, pure.
And now?
Not too kosher.
Albert Marx says this is a misunderstanding of what the pageant is all about.
We've always been regarded as goody two-shoes, I suppose, that anything off of the norm of morality was unthinkable to this point in the Miss America pageant, where we've never really felt that way.
The pageant does protect its showcase, however. Contestants like Miss South Dakota, Deborah Cleveland, are accompanied by a companion wherever they go to help with appointments, provide company, and keep them out of bars and casinos. The final Vanessa effect, contestants are thinking about themselves.
Somehow, lately, everyone's has gotten the idea that ideal young lady as a representative means perfect, that she can't have any faults and she can't have made any mistakes. That's not true. We're all humans.
And symbols as well. And it seems in this year of patriotism and nostalgia and scrutiny, these symbols are more interesting than ever. Bill Schackner, NBC News, Atlantic City.
Also tomorrow, the largest single event in Canadian history. Pope John Paul will hold a mass for 500,000 people at Downs View Air Force Base. City Pulse's Ann Roskowski, Mary Garofalo, and Jeff Ansell will bring you full coverage tomorrow on City Pulse tonight at 10. Now, briefly recapping tonight's top stories, Pope John Paul ends his first day in Toronto at a huge Polish rally at CNE Stadium. A strong earthquake in Japan devastates the town. Dozens are missing. In just 1 hour's time, General Motors in the United States could be hit by a crippling strike. Last-minute talks continue. The latest from the streets now as we go live to our chief assignment editor, Glenn Cole.
Thanks, Gord. Just a little correction for the folks that need passes to get into the residential area of North York being sealed off due to tomorrow's Papal Mass. You might have heard that you can pick up your residence passes at a fire hall. Well, that is true. However, Etobicoke firefighters would like you to know that it has to be the North York Fire Department halls only. They, believe it or not, had to turn down a number of people who decided to try their luck in Etobicoke, and it just doesn't work that way. It is time to get your woolies out, folks. The reason why, in the weather recap, live down on Queen Street with man Brian Hill.
One of the coldest weekends so far this year. Frost warnings, a possibility this weekend. Canadian Forces Base Downs View is the location for the big papal activity tomorrow, and we'll be seeing just what it's going to be looking like tomorrow as we take a look at the video skyline. Rain in the morning, but not in the afternoon when all the papal activities are taking place. We're talking about 12 degrees for a high. Normal at this time of year is 22. Sunday, only 14, still cool throughout this upcoming weekend. Monday, mainly sunny and still cool. Tuesday will begin to warm up ever so slightly, and by Wednesday we'll be nudging upwards toward 20, almost back to normal. But my goodness, it's going to seem like fall this weekend, and if you're heading out to the Papal site, I'd suggest a pair of rubber boots and a sweater to try to keep you warm. Here's John Burgess, Entertainment.
Thank you, Brian. And if you're going to the Festival of Festivals parties, put on your dancing shoes. Kathy Kastner will have all the details on the weekend entertainment of the wrap-up to the 9th Annual Festival of Festivals. Russ, sports?
Thanks, John. If the Jays are going down, they're going to go down fighting. Tonight, they knocked off the Tigers in Detroit 7-2. Willie Aikens, 2 home runs. Bobby Cox and Jim Clancy thrown out of the ball game. Good.
Thank you, Russ. That's City Pulse for tonight. Ann Moskowski and Jeff Ansell will have the next tomorrow night. Until then, thanks for tuning in. Have a good weekend. Good night.